You know, how do you make a comic book about, Hot Wheels cars? After all, it's not like there's any big lore behind this guy. I mean, he's just a car, right? It's a fantasy casting, just has some decals and all that, but there can't be anything special about these, right? Whoa. But then again, I could be wrong.
It's the 20th anniversary of Hot Wheels Acceleracers, and I wanted to celebrate this newest diecast release that you see right behind me by doing something a bit cooler than just an ordinary video like before. I wanted to go back to what I did in 2023 with this, the NFT Teku Deora 2, back when it was the 20th anniversary of Hot Wheels World Race, where they had actually wrapped the Deora 2 in Teku colors and then hired me to go do a bunch of stuff with them. Also, in my intro, shout out to Batman MX77 for these awesome displays. You can find them linked down below. And so I wanted to canonize bits and pieces from this new set. So in this video, I'll be taking you through my own writing process, the timeline, and some of the Easter eggs that I was able to lay out and tie them into this newest release. So this is behind the scenes on Hot Wheels Highway 35, Lost Years, a fan comic by JayCee and AlSeg. So let's get started. My writing process. So my writing process is very, very simple. I just templated it out like a storyboard, all of my kind of original artwork in here. So instead of trying to do it like this, I'm gonna just go ahead and pop it up on the screen. It's a lot easier that way, all right? I thought it might be a little bit hard to read from samples and all that, right? Very simple, trying to get all the lore bits on one side and then try to figure out how do I tie this into a fun little story on the other side. So a lot of this was going back to the drawing board saying, hey, how could I tie this in a more official looking way? And my first thought, of course, is, well, there's already official comics. Why not just start there, right? So I teamed up with AlSeg, as you know, to come up with an idea to say, this is kind of like an Instagram new format because now they don't do squares for some reason. Why don't we reformat the comic that I wrote for 2023 into a new post that's going to more replicate that of the new stuff, right? Of what's going to happen in a second. I wanted to kind of tie it into this whole idea of Lost Years. It's been something that's been on my mind for years and years and years. The 2-ish year gap between 2003's World Race and 2005 Hot Wheels Acceleracers. And there's that weird like transition of a couple of things from clip to drones, from why did Tesla do this? And I didn't get into all of those questions, of course, but I wanted to at least give us some aspects into seeing what those lives were like in this moment. So the first story, of course, is just Alec and Vert. It was supposed to be super simple. This was before Fog Realm. This was before everything, right? This is just me brainstorming ideas and just having some fun with it. Like, Alec was a Teku at some point. I mean, I just thought, let's make something simple. Vert goes to get his car taken from World Race to Acceleracers, and that way we tie in that 20th anniversary of Hot Wheels and everything going on with World Race to the actual practical of the Teku Deora 2 being released. There's so much of that in my head, like, hey, this is something that Hot Wheels should be doing, in my opinion. Like, they should be releasing some canon content. It doesn't have to be a whole lot at once, right? It can be little by little in chunks, just like the original comics were. They were little by little, boom, there's a movie, right? So kept it simple, kept it easy, kept it light, kept it World Race. Okay, World Race is how I think most of the time when I think about Hot Wheels. It's the closest to Hot Wheels that Hot Wheels has ever been when it comes to speed, power, performance, and attitude. And so that's what I want to replicate, and that's why I had Vert say, whoa, check it out, because this is fun comic book stuff. The next comic, this one was a little bit different. This is very, very early on in the 2-year period. Taro and Vert and like everybody already knows each other before Tone's death. That's a big turning point within the whole thing, and I think that that Tone's death is really what shifts the entire culture from the world race kind of fun to very more serious and dire aspects where an actual death happens. And originally, Kurt was on the run. Brother just got taken to prison before he joined the Teku. Before I realized every single flashback, except for one, where he puts his hand on Marky and he goes, "We'll be in it together." So, me and AlSeg got to thinking, what is something that was happening at this time that was very big in the tuner scene? It's the Skyline crisis. That's right, it's importing Skylines illegally, and that's why Marky went to prison for 2 years. Again, I'm trying to include cars that are in the new set. So if you want to know why Kurt is facing Torque, it's because they just released, guys. That's literally why. Kurt Wilde, of course, is someone who is very struggling with who he is and quote-unquote cheater, right? Kurt Wilde is still banned from the Grand Prix. He's under scrutiny for his questionable actions during World Race. I mean, he's Z36 after all. He's just trying to get his feet back under him, right? He's just trying to get himself going again. A lot of people wanted to win this race. I totally understand. 300 mile per hour slingshot is going to go against Torque. I think Tesla would have disabled some things or taken away some things, or a lot of the different stuff that went with the resonance, if you watch my podcast with Jeff Gomez, went away when they stopped racing in Highway 35. That was kind of where my head went with this. I want to show that these are now vulnerable cars after World Race has ended, after the Nitrox 2 has been taken away. For those that are wondering why Kurt loses, it's not because I don't like Kurt. I love Kurt. I thought it would be nice to give him a little bit of, hey, he's racing for real and he's not trying to cheat at all. Like, he is 100% just trying to race for once, right? And then someone cheats against him, right? A little bit of, ah, shucks, the other guy got me with what I used to get other people with, right? So Vert say, hey, go talk to Tone. Kurt Wilde's gonna join the Teku, and then someone gets a call, right? They're gonna call up Alec. Is Alec a silencer? Now, I'm not gonna answer that question for you guys. All I know is we're trying to keep it in with the Fog Realm, Project Territory, Basilicom team. So whatever gonna happen, doesn't have to happen just for me. You can follow these other teams and see what else they're gonna come up with, because we're all trying to create like a collaborative effort when it comes to this writing thing. And so this final one was a lot tougher. First, I wanted to just figure out what the name was, which is Lost Years. I thought Lost Years was perfect. We lost a bunch of years that we don't know anything about. Boom. Highway 35, Lost Years. And the reason I don't put the, as you can see here, I crossed it out. Jeff Gomez, I remember hearing in a podcast, said, the is the worst. Stop putting the in your titles. And I thought for a second, but it doesn't work, does it? And then I just said it. Lost Years. It just sounds so clean. It sounds so nice. So shout out Jeff Gomez for that podcast with Alec Berkson, I think. Cosmic Street Corner. I don't know if it's still going on anymore. So this first sketch that I'm going to show up on the screen is actually the original idea. And it was because I was running out of money. And I said, 2 pages, please. I could not fit everything in 2 pages. And when I sent this over to AlSeg, she was very confused. And I can't blame her. Ultimately, I wanted to retell the Ultimate Race. And the reason I wanted to retell the Ultimate Race, I've always been playing with this idea behind, is Galorum still alive? And a part of me always wanted her to still be alive. And the reason I think that is because RDL1 comes back to life in From Ignition to Speed of Silence, I believe it is. Snap, okay, so they can transfer their minds over. Why on earth would Galorum not have a counter plan to her dying? Some things that we've heard that Kadim is supposed to be redeemed, so we can't have him be the ultimate bad guy, right? So how do we explain Galorum coming back, right? Well, the World Race version of her and the Acceleracers version of her are pretty different looking, aren't they? In fact, I'd say the Fog Realm version of her looks more like the World Race version of her. Me and Vulcan decided, hey, what if the Fog Realm version of her, being the World Race version of her, survives somehow? And that's it. That's about it. That's all I gotta say about that. And so that whole comic was literally explaining a couple of things, including that it has the awesome YYY, that the Acceleron logo. And so Ron added that detail in on the newest casting this year. And so I thought, let's pay homage to that. Let's pay homage to the new RDO9 design that Dwayne Vance did by making it the older version. Yeah, so why not make it the older version, right? Make it the first version. Make the one that shows up in the movie the second version. Now we have canonized both cars, and now the whole release you can buy in stores is technically canon. The last thing I wanted to canonize was MJ. It's kind of hard to canonize something like this, right? Now, obviously it means Mark Jones in our world, but that's not as cool. So I had to canonize it somehow. Technical explanation, there's different RDO6s with different paint jobs in the movie already compared to their diecast counterparts, but I wanted this decal to be represented in a way that was fair with the MJ. I went to the lexicon of Latin, with Latin being involved, just like Clip, and going back to Clip and what they are. So I found Mando and Jupiter, and it was perfect, because it means to command perennially. It means that Glorum never die. Now, whenever you collect these in the stores, you can go, oh, I actually have a real army, because guess what? They're creating that army as we're going, right? And so I'm actually going to take you now through the timeline of everything. And I started this back in September, the 9th month of the year. And it is now currently December, which is the 12th month in the year. So that's 4 months ago that we started this whole project. And the first month was just us brainstorming, trying to figure out, hey, what do we want to do? Where is this going to go? And why do we want to do it? And so originally I was already thinking Grease Lightning, pay homage to the original Kurt Wilde comics, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? A day or two to write the first comic, technically the second comic. 7 days to get the sketches. So just the first batch of sketches, which sketched out the entire timeline of everything better than I did, right? So storyboard it, and then it got cleaned up. In about a month. So everything took about a month to clean up. So 22 days total. And then I approached her about the comic covers, a month for me to come up with. So it took me about a month to try and write some things in October. So that started in October. So it was another month sketching up Alex's storyboard. First one, I think, took 10 days total, the first cover, because that's why she's the GOAT. Then, of course, we had the second cover that went back into November. Where we were finally finalizing Vert and Kurt and the backgrounds for all of those. So it was November 14th by the time that we got all the covers done. And then I finally wrote everything on the 18th. That's right. Yeah, it took me that long. It took me 2 months to write that final comic because I was trying to figure out how do I contain all of this greatness. No, I'm just kidding. And then figure out all the reference photos, right? That was the biggest thing. I wanted to make sure she had as much reference as possible, try and keep it as easy on her. So I improved a little bit on my own storyboarding, but still not perfect. And then I started saying, hey, let's have a December release. Kind of rushing my artist a little bit, not gonna lie. Because it was the end of November by the time she even got to the starting cleanup of the first page. That was just the first page, by the way, the sketch. That took 10 days for us to like solidly get down because there's a lot in it. It was big. It was a big issue. And so while that was going on, I decided to go back and remaster the old comic from 2023 to fit in with the new stuff. And to that prevail, I wanted to make sure I included even not just the title card, but the back card, the fun little at the end screens, the advertisements. I actually recreated that advertisement for my own channel and things like that. And then, of course, we wrote an author's note and an illustrator's note so that the people can know what we were kind of struggling with a little bit. So that if you didn't watch this video, it's super long, that you get a kind of an idea of what was going on at the time of our writing process and everything. A lot of people didn't watch those or read those though that commented, and I was like, go read them because like we wrote a whole bunch of stuff so that you could see a little bit more about our process, right? So I added a bunch of sound effects is what my job was. I was writing sound effects, trying to make sure that the cover pages were correct, including the description pages. I was trying to make them look as authentic as possible towards this whole thing. And so that took us another month. I think she didn't finish the final of Glorum until maybe a couple days ago. So shout out AlSeg for that really quick timeline of like a December release for all of this to celebrate 20th anniversary, because I was trying to fit something in before we left for the holidays, and more specifically before the year ended for the 20th anniversary. September all the way to December like 22nd. So yeah, pretty big timeline for 4 months of 3 comics. And so people go, whoa, we want more. Well, it's a lot. The Easter eggs and hidden meanings. AlSeg brings in some of the Project Territory characters. I loved it. I thought we should keep this kind of universe going with the Fog Realm. Now with 2025 being Fog Realm and Project Territory, which you should definitely go watch and go read. I just wanted to tie this in with all that, right? Trying to keep it simple, right? Someone gets a call, right? They're gonna call up Alec, right? Because in the Prosh Garage, which I think was AlSeg's idea, was to name it the Prosh Garage, which was great. I love that idea. Alec's working as an intern in design, right? So we used some of my designs, we stuck up some official work in the Teku-ized garage, right? We shouted out the Basilicom team from their World Race expansion for the trading card game. Again, all this is fan stuff. We're trying to tie in fan stuff together. But the most key thing is he always a silencer? Is he now a silencer? I thought the most key part, though, of this was, again, to canonize the Iridium. That's right, the Iridium, which has the incorrect helmet. I thought that was more important to canonize. And incorrect paint. Or correct paint? Now it's correct because we made it gray. And that's why you see what you see. Is because we just wanted to shout out the cars that you can buy now in the store in Walmart in 2025 for the 20th anniversary of Acceleracers. That's where my head was at the entire time. I wanted to use some binary language as well for M and J. If you're familiar with ASCII or you're familiar with computer science, I'm a big computer science nerd, so there's also the 42 in there in drone language. If you don't know what that means, it's the meaning of life. It's the asterisk, so it means everything, right? It means everything. So it was a catch-all practically for the drones to send back like a SOS, if you will, right? Also included all the clip drivers. I wanted to give them a chance to shine. I wanted to show off the fact that we canonized every little bit from these card arts, including their helmets, their designs of the cars, the misprints, and the good things, right? Just wanted to include everything. The blue eyes, blue to green. I wanted to make that clear that this is the same version of the World Race version of her. MJ standing for Man No Jupiter, all that stuff, right? All that stuff. And if you see even more Easter eggs, like Grease Lightning, including that into my stories, just shout them out below and see if you caught them all. I know the Ball Diora 2 is one. That was a big fun one that I wanted to make sure the mainline version was also canon. I thought that was fun for people. If they caught that, I hope they caught that. I showed it off to someone at one point, and I think they just looked at me funny. And I thought, well, that's fair enough. So in conclusion, this project was a huge endeavor and collaborative effort with AlSeg. And I just want to stress how grateful I am to her and her help on this project, because not only that, but a bonus artist came in, Jevin Loopart, who wanted to create some alt covers. So of course, I was in. And here is that bonus for sticking around to the end here. Little detail. If you want to see every little single detail that I might have missed, you can of course follow my Instagram, where I've been posting or even subscribe here on YouTube, where you can see kind of these little slides I'm showing up. And even more so, I want to say thank you, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year to you, viewer. I hope you'll stick around for more Acceleracers 20th anniversary content, as I'm quick to film and very slow to edit. As my members can tell you, as you can hit that join button down below, I have like 7 or 8 podcasts of the Andrew Duncan and some more awesome Acceleracers guests, but all of it's behind a paywall since I haven't finished editing them, and they're all very unedited and unprofessional looking. But they are there if you join the channel and you just wanted to watch them on your own. Plus the other 3 parts of the Director's React. Yes, I know I'm still on that. So yep, I've still got more 20th anniversary content on the way, and it isn't over until I release it all. So stay tuned, subscribe, share, and like this video for more Hot Wheels culture content, and I'll see you guys actually on January 11th, 2026 in Houston, Texas at CCS. It's a new event happening here where I'll be doing a public signing, selling Acceleracers, and maybe even giving some printed versions of the comics for free with purchase, you know? I hope to see you all there. I can't wait to do some more here. Be here. Be squared. Merry Christmas. Once again, bye-bye now.